Dear humanity, dear America, regarding the George Floyd shooting, murder, as presented to us. You guys are only defending the furtherance of uses of states' attorneys and of uses of prosecutors and of uses of judges as criminally foreign influenced and delusions wrought knaves, pretending others simultaneously, as they are used remotely, from their locations needing to hide live progressions further and further tall identity ground locations. Not by accident already with investigations, investigators, and vetting identities sick with those locations. That's why there are problems with the most forsaken areas, with all areas, because of the predicate acts delivery system method that a real American history is really about. Former Director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, in his defendant capacities in a 2006 case that was ongoing at the time of the plaintiff's death. His co-defendants have roles with kids that I went to school with in Wethersfield, Connecticut, where George Washington had to come right before the last battle of the Revolutionary War, had to secure means to semi-counter-extort that which was thought unfathomable to counter because of how it was sickly entrenched north and south with the predicate acts delivery system method that forced all to rolls with that. So it forced everyone as fact treatment nature styles of positive and negative treatments that were criminal insidiousness natures of positive as negative value nature. We are only automatically temporary positive. See, but this breaching method from some ancient times since before modern nations, religions, it attached people to roles with the ancient republics revealed by human relations before they became criminally foreign influenced. They were led by the identity of value/value progression that inventions work or not in relationship to it. They are further positive or not in relationship to it. It is recorded how the real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures are blamed on other things other than themselves. And that's covered up, and the only reason they get away with it is everyone's styles of preventing mandated law. If you're in collusion with interbranch and all private tied to them like security and stuff like that, and foreign, hundreds of nations, A1 through Z such, sickly, distinctly sick. Humanity is in an identity of negative value nature progression, suits and ties and counter to that are sick. This is Connecticut interstates from my town, Wethersfield, Connecticut, interbranch, intercities through time. Predicate acts also roles on campuses and private database-based relationships simultaneously, including news media. They attach me, my family, people tied to me, to fake words, fake recorded audio and video, fake sequence relationships to ourselves, to others. And now if they use investigations and vetting investigators and vetting identities, investigators themselves, and hold the identities of the agencies, recorded roles used with crime methods where they forge names and switch names into branch while they are simultaneously and were simultaneously already stacking faked audio and video into databases, pretending passions and emotions. They have to pretend to be against prejudice. They have to pretend to be about empathy. These are sick beasts. Only ones allowed to speak. The only way you can heal them is by following mandated law. Now, see, you guys forced others then and now with a principal child defenders campus. I asked you since before that was found out for a response for that. That was also it delayed me from getting a response to Central Connecticut State University and Trinity College with foreign and domestic families involved with their predicate acts, names forging and switching, which is relevant to the interbranch uses of that crime method while they are simultaneously stacking. There's a Joshua Julian, and there's a Joshua Stryker. I never had anything to do with them in my lives. These are people that try to walk by and have people pretend other. These are people that through time already used the Obama administration remotely. It's clear as day. Science never spoke for any location. How they are keeping leaders as victims is how they kept the locations, areas, and state styles of victim, predator, fact, treatment, nature styles, pretending to be other. That simultaneously forces kings and pharaohs even. They're only going to be above states, locations, areas, states, criminally foreign influenced. Reliant upon treatments of positive and of negative as criminal insidious natures of positive treatments. Thank God I am not a lawyer, a police form, criminal judge. There are delusions, wrought also at the same time, but there are also wire crime methods, mail crime methods, rules crimes methods. These are rules further with a proven post-dated documents that had already been brought in and time-stamped on time to the Ninth Circuit in New York before the World Trade Center attack. Right before the World Trade Center attack, those documents had been post-dated again, as if they've been to make it look as if they've been handed in late. People associated with that, with Manhattan, the Ninth Circuit is right next to the World Trade Center towers, right before they were taken out. That proven the post-dated documents led to a 2006 case then in Connecticut with former director of the FBI in his defendant capacities. Former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, former standing chairperson on Racketeering Influence and Corrupt Organization Act. He's also recorded directly and indirectly involved with predicate acts on my street, with people that with a house that came in when I was in 4th grade. One family that he rolls with Phil Collo, reportedly a relative of him, also involved with them with identity theft, frauds, attaching me to fake locations, fake ties to other people, fake natures of ties to other people. Ray Collo also repeated the name Joshua Julian, who's also recorded and involved with interbranch Facebook pages with the people on the child sex offender registry and further involved with them. They also make fake Facebook pages, fake child sex offender registry against people who tells on them. Now, these are also people with undercover positions, so regardless if that is true or not, they are recorded and involved with predicate acts against kids through time connected anyway. On and off of juxtaposed natures of organized crime, like on and off the Wethersfield Town Library. They have other nations associated with this. There's a Mike Kerr, I barely know him. I only know him and Joe DeMauro through them seeking me out for confessions. They're friends of my neighbor. And, these are people also rolls with there's girls and their sisters and guys and their brothers. Since they were kids, they were involved with people associated with the Delafair family and a Chris White. I don't know. They're involved with attaching me to fake locations, fake ties to themselves, fake natures of ties to themselves. Their roles with intermilitary, foreign and domestic, on and off Central Connecticut State University, on and off child campuses in town, further involved with predicate acts, through time connected. Now there's a Jen Socia, and there's another one I don't know the name of, but she was in an 8th grade class of mine. I barely had any conversation with her. There was also a Chris Walters who came in from he's one of the people relevant with the Washington, D.C. and World Trade Center families criminally involved. Since before the World Trade Center attack, I've been getting extorted by people that employed all the Connecticut gyms and people associated with that to roles with their predicate acts on and off the campuses I went to, like Central Connecticut State University, which is tied to when I went to the child campus in my town. The one as an adult, I found out there are other natures of organized crime with the kids there through time, with interbranch family members and with foreign families. And it's tied to how they have programs, not just about jobs, title, security, things like that. The elements of danger that they share as knaves, where they have truth, where they have to be, where they have true right to lie legitimately. See, they've been using that originally and still for what the breaching method knew they would use it for, which is use the right to lie criminally. In other words, they're using the right to lie the way they don't need to have the right to lie. And they're having what they call politics. It's criminally foreign influence. They have to pretend to be against such here and there. So they need people speaking about Russia and speaking about America, leaving out how they have hundreds of nations, A1 through Z, however many nations there are. Russia and America, since before cars, the pathology of homes set out in the suburbs, tactically forsaken, let alone, not by accident, worse in urban. But if you look down from a YouTube drone, they have a whole bunch of YouTubers that use drones. You can see from, where you look at aerial perspective from when they have movies and stuff like that, they show the distance. You see how, look from a plane. If you go on a plane, you see everything looks small. We have more ground underneath everybody than we need to build a paradise. But with these value nature systems, which a market system can't help but mimic. These are all tactical ulterior from the native value/value progression. That is the identity that inventions work or not in relationship to it. They are further positive or not in relationship to it. And that value is only increasing. Heaven and hell were revealed as scientific variables, demonstrably, by a quality of fact-cheaping nature about identity that can't be afforded, and what they have been teaching about things like identity, things like ground, things like positive and negative. Again, the criminal ceases natures of positive. Styles pretending not to realize that, even though the inherent active and progressive means, especially with needing sequence true and identity unaccosted. We have quote experts making opinions on people when the best schools recorded delusions wrought, let alone the most forsaken schools. They have the way they have the reactions to all the real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures. As a maintained, self-cultivated, self-valued, propagated criminal ceaselessness affect nature. Increasingly, juxtapose motivations, roles, natures, needs, interests for evil, and wanting to be even known for it. Oh, we're just trying to counter prejudice. We're not going to follow mandated law for you, Anthony. You don't, what? Follow mandated law for me. So you have some fake leaders of white groups, of black groups, pink, purple. They're victims that are blaming other things others than themselves wrongly. Now, the proofs of this is how mandated law is prevented. Crime acts are prevented from being told on. We have words like crimes recorded sickly having been used originally and still by our Justice Departments. You think it's a joke they put innocent people by making fabricated audio and video into jail? That's what's recorded. They know that. They know their state's attorney. They know that, but it's self-valued on a mass scale. These are people just looking to go for a job to defend, just a success that's abridged. Now, if you're going to be against that, you have to pretend to be against that. Nature forces that. We have too many fake positive natures. Then they have to pretend other. They pretend they don't understand people. They make allegations against people on a daily basis. They already did this. You will have all we need recorded to force injunctive reliefs and evolution's fruits and gifts and means from nowhere. Natures of communications, natures of sciences, liberated. You guys want to start fights. You want to let the people who are pretending to be about peace. Just note how they blame anger and frustration rather than identity. That's the first, in other words. They need to pretend shit like that. Because they're pretending passions and emotions. They're preventing mandated law. CNN had the brother of the poor guy. They stood on his neck. Now these things would have been prevented had you all responded to me, which is what is actually recorded are people like a Faenza family that I don't even know. They saw me without all these confessions with other people too that I don't even know from my town attached. Like they have intercities. This is intercities though. Through time, like people, in other words, when I was a kid and when other people are kids, they know where you're going to walk between your class. There's almost so much time, then you have to go to your class. And they know there are people in your same class, grade-wise, know that they call it a class at the end. That's part of a breaching method. This is what keeps everyone. It's also, you have to counter the child abuses with the interbranch with their kids, spreading lies about people through their schools. They have a Joshua Julian also with the Facebook pages. They have an officer, Jerry Miller. They have a Jerry Kerr, more than one Jerry Kerr. They have a Mike Kerr. They have a Joe DeMoro, more than one Joe DeMoro, a John DeMoro, a Paul DeMoro, involved with and as, well, Weathersfield Police, State Police, former Director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, his co-defendants, federal criminals from other cases proven, and ones tied to them, and his lawyer. Note, down the street from the Harriet Beecher Stowe Mark Twain house. Note how Harriet Beecher Stowe is one of the people involved with the coining of the phrase Uncle Tom the way it was coined and used. Note how. So, we have criminal insidious nature, treatments of positive, only allowed speech, as all locations are supposed to be about the defenses of free speech. They have science of what people like to hear. I mean, what kind of a calmness or aggression or passions and emotions that the news correspondents have. That's fake theater, so they can get more views. But that's their alibi, because it's really they're hiding how. In other words, then they use it just because there are only three branches of government. They value them originally still incapable of defending their fact-cheating nature styles and us from being incapable of being the quality of fact-cheating nature necessary to counter the predicate acts delivery system breaching method using human fact-cheating nature. Identity is nature. Identity is a simultaneous relationship to positive and negative. Even what is variable has what is unchanging about it as what is unchanging about it. It is what is true in all exceptions at the same time, all exception nature. So we have humanity. There's how we are an identity of volume, individually grouped in together. Species, identity of volume. Those are three distinct, non-distinct, and simultaneously bound identities, as are the cell nucleus, the cell body, and the cell wall. Rather than letting this do the group voice or the fake breaching screen patriotism natures, or counters to that, and all alternatives in collusion with them. We have all these types of cliques with the politics and with the types of rights groups. You try to have them follow mandated law. That's where you just can discern. You're going to discern form of direct. You're going to watch, but you have to follow mandated law. You guys have only opinion natures allowed to speak on the news while they're telling us other. They're investing them because our agencies are already recorded, criminally foreign influence. The people that counter nations that are sick to us, they're in collusion other ways. Psychotic natures of organized crime and the physical delusions are associated with the theories and the logic associated with psychology experts. You have to counter the various natures of courts, fabricating audio and video with them. Roles with identity thefts, frauds. Roles with the policing of the online platforms. The only ways they got away with it for so long is because it's from off campuses maintained. But then it has everyone roles. Further from those locations, need to hide live progressions right back to all locations, areas, and states. And they keep this in outcome preemptively. All kinds of sequence shifts. Federal crimes of evidence, rules crimes. Name stacking. Then they pretend you're saying things that, he says people thinks everyone's bad. Never said that. Said the whole bunch of names, strange attached me every year of my life. Fake locations, fake communications with the people around me. Only reason I didn't complain about it that way is because there's so many ways at once, the things they're doing. And I was studying it, and I knew I'll be able to step on it if you follow mandated law. But I couldn't believe, in other words, intercities is connected. Recorded uses of the predicate acts of a former Mayor Gold's family and self. Now, a Joe Aiello and various natures of courts and their judges and prosecutors also criminally involved. Officers forging names, switching names, falsified things in the databases, put me to fake communications with an officer that was in my grade growing up. I remember it was in my school growing up. I never had a conversation with my life verbal. They have other people say things about him. Because they have them involved with identity theft. They need people to say they know other people. Because they have all kinds of natures of organized crime with the kids. With the policing of the online platforms. Now they have their narratives, they have excuses, but they're not legitimate. That's not their only influences. Like AI needs. Oh, it's all about AI. Oh, it's all about the money. Let them say that on paper. That's why they can't say that. That's why they keep saying it from the background or that fake front. That they have the news included. Your president tries to tell you fake news. You want to keep him, and like you kept Obama, in collusion with locations, areas, and states, criminal and seditious natures across the board of everyone. Originally and still. The same by the predicate acts delivery system that forced roles with slavery. You think you're going to be a role with slavery, and you're not going to be a fact-cheating nature style that's a criminal and seditious nature? You think you're going to be able to speak, protract logic that is not criminally foreign influence, that has integrity? No, you're not going to be able to. You're going to need to pretend to, though. You're going to be backed as a victim predator into overt criminal enterprises, private ones, interbranch, intercampuses, interdatabase relationships further. Parallel. Same way they have the coding work. They have the need to do the compiling code simultaneously. Like with a higher language. Same thing. Coding works the way this value/value progression that generated matter works. This is not just theory. This is the most. There are all kinds of evidences of this, and people who deny it have to use those self-valued, criminally foreign influence premises treatments, positive treatments. You have abridged sciences, jobs of that. Then some more and more people employed breaching method, incapable of defending that and of affording the quality of fact-cheating nature that explains why and how The surface values of the Constitution are supposed to be valued simultaneously, regardless if you know what amendment gives you the right to free speech. See, we have some sick interpretations of identity of the law because we have victim predators that came through criminally foreign influenced sciences, campuses further, database relationships further, while that is further with the private ones. And what's compiling it? The overt archetypal criminal enterprise. If you don't want to agree to that, it's a predicate acts delivery system method. That's what's actually recorded. When you have slavery, it's a predicate acts delivery system method. That's sustained too. See, they know everyone's got to be about positive and negative as a value/value progression. This is also how they have everyone's neighbors involved with it. They have sense and sensibilities, forcing everyone to speak through other people. At the same time, they're putting people to fake conversations with people we never had conversations with. At the same time, they're having base conversations, with our experts, physical delusions, wrought, fabricating audio and video afterwards roles, with putting more people in because they can't speak themselves. And they're delaying time. They're using time always too fast, too slow to get over on people. So, you have these sports teams, they put on a thing. The only good thing was they're speaking about the specific act this time. But what do? They're not allowed to speak. They're not helping other people to speak. All locations, areas, and states were used criminally and then further back to them. Which by the method that caused negative value nature progressions action nature needed to be hid by each identity ground location, further intercampuses, further intersciences. That's how they're used remotely. When did they have integrity? So, they have lawyers also like a Trantolo and Trantolo, who's recorded and involved with crime methods of the courts and the police distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously, individually and grouped. It shows how the judicial branch individually has crime methods that are distinct from the individual crime methods of the executive branch, but they also have group crime methods. You have to follow mandated law. They have narrative, they have the crime method of needing offensively, consciously, criminally, dishonestly, and with delusions that people's videos aren't successful on YouTube, for example, because of the nature of our content, because we're not presenting it with the right character. That ties to how the news is preventing mandated law and using that crime method. And, preventing a response, stacking names, forging names, switching names. No one knows what the other person's talking about, but yet the news, they attach me and my family and plaintiffs and people that help the plaintiffs to fake words, fake locations other than they actually pled in cases. The same people involved with the depositions associated with the depositions of former director of the FBI and the people associated with him leading up to the 2006 case in Connecticut. Now those are the same people further involved with leading up to the World Trade Center attack in the Ninth Circuit Court right next to it, and with people associated with the World Trade Center from Wethersfield, Connecticut. Also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. Roles with conversations about me that with people like a Heather Hansen that came through sexual circles, with a Joe DeMoro and with a Mike Kerr. Recorded, confessed, and demonstrated roles with a Officer Jerry Miller, and people associated with an Arch Pizza that's gone now, and with the Zano family, and Rocky Hill, all along Route 3. Now Route 3 goes by Wethersfield State Judicial Branch offices. Note the shooting of that person, I forgot his name, Vega, outside of Wethersfield Pizza, right around the corner from the State Judicial Branch offices, and that Route 3 going by there. So now we also have Enzo Fienza recorded involved on off the state judicial branch offices. He's got a cousin, I forgot his name. And there's another Enzo Fienza also, who's involved with mayors retired and standing, with predicate acts with like a Dillon family, who's involved with some child sex offenders on the child sex offender registry, also with school resource officers, with the group that is involved further criminally with child campuses and with federal criminals through time, and further with the federal criminals and their family members of former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin. Now there's a John Maiano also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with predicate acts of prosecutors, cliques, and families, and with the people, with the judges through time and stuff like that, criminally involved with him and an ILO family. I barely know. And for brief moments, they were trying to set up fake things. In other words, somebody left when they had the on a Burlington Turnpike one time. Burlington Turnpike before the heart of Hartford. No, 3 spots at the end of the Burlington Turnpike. There's a Fred Grisey who sought me out as a stranger who went to another school, a private school, but he lived in front of my high school. I barely know him, only know him from these contexts with confessions from strangers. That are also one of the things that was tied to it that may help me figure it out is they were covering lie progressions from with the daughter of Debbie Gold, which she did, attaching me to fake communications with her and sequence shifts. She got mad like I had a conversation with her. I never had a conversation with her in my life. And I didn't understand it, but I knew it was after, like a year before that, a Tim O'Brien and Andy O'Brien. They also have family associated with people with Sandy Hook. Now these are people involved also with the 3 spots at the end of the Burlington Turnpike, with the Wethersfield Police Chief's family, with this Fred Grisey, with identity thefts, with falsified police reports roles, other natures of predicate acts roles, on and off campuses, not off those locations, with the identity theft fraud. They trick you to be in a location and they tell people that stuff to make it look like they know you. Sequence shifting. Now these are people tied to a Soto family, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with the predicate acts on and off those 3 locations at the end of the Burlington Turnpike. Note where the J.P. Morgan's grave is, who had to loan money to the United States government to fight in the world wars. Note down the street from there, is Trinity College, which was first George Washington College. It became Trinity College in 1823. In 1822, there was still slavery entrenched in the North. And there was still, that was the year before it became, that was the year before they made it Trinity College. It was still associated with the system, with the year before 1822, the Institute of Living on Hartford Hospital's campus was instituted. Now there are a whole bunch of male and female doctors and their family members and nurses, foreign and domestic, associated with the medical campuses and with that part of Hartford Hospital, but also through all parts of it. It has been bleeding in. Now these are also people with medical families, all sides of, like all private, medical, all tied to the interbranch, and all the prisons tied to them too. They have medical people that deal with the people in the prisons. They force drugs in them. They make up things to do it. So these are people. Then they have to lie about that. Then they have to stay more and more styles manifest, incapable of countering that. Heather Hansen and Joe DeMoros recorded, confessed with others, and with my neighbor, with the people involved at Central Connecticut State University in New Britain, Connecticut, 3 cities over, cities or towns, connected to the roles with through time with the child campus near, like a mile from my house. Now these are the people also relevant because it is relevant how they use the other child campuses and confessions, intercities connected, from strangers too. Because then they delay when you report things. And each time you try to report something, they're attaching you to fake locations. They have the policing of Facebook and the policing of YouTube, and they have the sense and sensibilities of the stewards of them, and all involved with that. Used as victim predators, preventing mandated law. All we need to make America have evolution's fruits and gifts, it means out of nowhere, is to have a button when people aren't preventing mandated law. They're pretending passions and emotions about things like prejudice too. We have white power cliques, KKK themed, Confederate flag themed military police, like with the Kolvenskis family. His wife, Lucinda must be Lucinda Kolvenskis. I think it's his wife. Recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with parent-teachers organization, with mayors retired and standing. Everyone forced to speak, though. I never got a class with Lucinda Alderuccio. I think that's her name. So then they pretend, oh, we don't want names. That's a crime method, to pretend you don't want uses of names. That's part of the crime method you're using, is stacking names. So you have to use names to demonstrate how they're stacking names to roles with them forging and switching names. Because while they are switching names, they've been fabricating things into databases. So people associated with the deposition of former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, it was in a Hartford court, and his co-defendants. It was in a Hartford court. Before the World Trade Center and after it, the Hartford court and New Britain's courts. I caught them with locations crimes. I wasn't a defendant catching them doing bad things. I was an innocent person that caught them doing crimes with locations that were also confessed to me about those locations when I was in high school, and demonstrated roles with it. And serious, I didn't understand it. I don't know if it's completely made up. Even if it is completely made up and he was only a part of the training that they have on and off the campuses, like a serial killer near in West Hartford, associated with body dumping spots in West Hartford, in the same spot though. And the buildings next to that are a whole bunch of ways involved with investigators, investigations, and vetting identities since before that was found out and after, as which shows their collusion with that guy individually too. As the people involved, that guy too, his prison stewards are like Sandy Hook. Those are the people involved with Sandy Hook from my town. I'm from my street too, that are involved with the various natures of predicate acts. There's a Leahy family of doctors also. 2 of them have the name Brendan, and they have women in their family that work with Institute 11 Hartford Hospital's campus. Whole bunch of people tied to them. Also never had a conversation with them pretended other. So they change what people say. They have all kinds of criminal readings of statutes. So since founding, we had to demonstrate the breaching method that was still entrenched and unceasingly effective, unchallenged. That's why there was slavery. There was a predicate acts delivery system method here. Prejudice didn't cause slavery.